Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTV WORLD. In today's show, I will be talking about three very important stories in our segment today. The first story is with reference to the situation within Pakistan in terms of the spike in terrorist activities and the evidence that has come out previously as well. And again, now following the money trail that the funding of separatist groups in Pakistan has been done by RAW as well. And there's also been evidence with regards to Indian involvement regarding the attack on Chinese nationals in Karachi. And this, of course, is not the first time that such evidence has come out. And time and again, Pakistan has pointed out to foreign elements' involvement within the terrorist activities in Pakistan, especially, of course, India's involvement with different groups and incidents within our country. And once again, the money trail has led us back to RAW, which, of course, points out to the fact of what needs to be done about it and how we're going to be able to proceed on this matter and whether or not such evidence will count as anything in the international community and on various platforms where it should. So that's going to be the focus of our first segment today. Then we're going to be taking a look at the situation within our country and how we've seen in the recent weeks and months there has been a lot of talk and a lot of propaganda against the military institutions of the country, which of course is uncalled for and quite unfortunate. And we've seen this coming not just from the general public but also from people who have held important posts within different political parties within the previous ministry as well. And then we also have seen a tweet from the son of the president, Alvi, Mr. Awab Alvi, who has tweeted against the military. And in his tweets, he has pointed out blatantly that the PTI and its leadership is going to continue its propaganda campaign against military institutions in the country, something, of course, with reference to their narrative of the imported government and the military's involvement in political decision-making. This, of course, has been denied time and again by DGISPR and the army institutions as well. But however, it continues to go ahead. And now, of course, when we see such tweets coming in from the son of the president, this of course is quite irresponsible and uncalled for, and it's unfortunate that we still see this coming on, irrespective or disregarding the kind of impact it's going to have on the way the army institutions are impacted, on the way public opinion is impacted, and then of course Pakistan's position in the international community as well. And despite these statements that have been repeatedly coming in from DGISPR and the army institutions, we've also seen that there has been a retracking of the statement later where Awab Alvi has spoken about how maybe the choice of words has been poor, but he does not completely deny what he has said. He only reiterates his respect for the armed force. So we'll also talk about that, whether or not this is something that can be let go, because of course this debate on his tweet went on for quite some time yesterday. And then we've also seen tweets coming in from Shiri Mazari as well with reference to the US conspiracy. Again, another thing which has been repeatedly denied by both the US and the armed institutions of the country. So we're going to be talking about that in further detail in our second segment of the show. Our third segment is going to focus on the situation in the international community in a larger context, in the way that Pakistan's peaceful nuclear capability and nuclear program has helped in terms of deterrence against the destabilizing force that India has been for a while now and continues to be in the region, something that we discussed in our show yesterday as well. And we're going to be taking a look at now from the perspective of Pakistan and the way that the involvement of India keeps on increasing both within our region and elsewhere as well, that the nuclear program in Pakistan is perhaps the only deterring factor which has helped in regional peace and stability and the continuance of peace both within Pakistan and also between India and Pakistan. So that's going to be our last segment of the show today. For this and more, I have been joined in our studios, of course, by Raja Faisal and Farrukh Pitafi. And for our first segment with regards to the Indian involvement in the terrorism activities in Pakistan, I have been joined online by Brigadier Retired Mr. Haris Nawaz, who's a political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Haris, for joining us. We're going to be first talking about the evidence that has come out with regards to the Karachi incident, and then of course the money trail which has gone back to RAW's involvement in funding separatist groups in Pakistan. But again, this is not news to a lot of people within Pakistan as well, and something that we have shared across the world as well, and time and again pointed out that such foreign involvement exists, and we have evidence for that. But it seems that no matter how much evidence comes out or how many times it happens, it doesn't really transform into any sort of consequence from the Indian side or from the international community. Again, it's important for countries to be protected from terrorist involvement and activities from across the border. But in this case, it seems that even if we have the evidence, there's not much we can do about it except bring it out or condemn it. Is that right?
You see, Sana, you asking me?
Yes, Mr. Harris.
Okay. You see, the point is that we are very clear about it that India has never accepted that Pakistan. They always take as a stumbling block in their hegemonic designs. And that is what they are doing it, and they have been doing it, and repeatedly they are doing it, and nothing is happening. The point is, if Pakistan does anything, or even our non-state actors do anything in Kashmir, you see how they react. How the United Nations put ban and restrictions on the non-state actors, and then they are punished, and they are, of course, they are not even now they're behind bars. But the point is why India is let free, why nothing is happening. How many times you have given dossiers by our DG ISPR, and then of course our ex-foreign minister, United Nations, everywhere it has gone, and everybody raising the voice, even United Nations watchdogs, then of course human rights organizations, different Europe organizations, everybody's talking, but then they all these big power they turn their face otherwise. Because the problem is they need India, and they need India as a use as India as a proxy against Ladakh, against China, then of course South China Sea, and then of course they need it against Pakistan CPEC. Now these are the issues. Then they have their own commercial activity interest with the Indians with a big power. Now, whatever we have been doing it, even what is the day Karachi University explosion took place, I was 200 sure, and I said right on the television that it is only Indians, nobody else can do it. Then, of course, there are certain facilitators within Pakistan and outside Pakistan, and we have seen it that things were coming from the communication was coming from Iran. So Pakistan need to talk to Iran. Then this is the problem we are facing. Then, of course, Afghanistan, we can't force so much. You see, the problem is they are not stable. They are financially, they are not stable. They don't have a political inclusive government. And that is the reason once they don't have a writ of the government in their own country, they can't take non-state actors like Al Qaeda, then TTP and ISS, everybody is operating from there. And then, of course, in Balochistan, we know okay, there are 1%, 1.5%, there's BLA and BLF, they're all operating in that area, and they are on behest of American Indians. And they openly say, we are supporting Balochistan. We want Balochistan to be separated because, God forbid, Balochistan has Gwadar. It's a big Pakistan's economic jump off point, and then it's a lot of other natural resources. So now is the time that at least we take this issue to the OIC. We must go to OIC, and that is the way the OIC went to the United Nations, and then Islamophobia, the anti-drive came, and then 15 May they already accepted it should be 15 March, I think.
But Brigadier Harris, do you really think that OSCE is a platform that we can really rely on in terms of any tangible action against India? Because of course the countries within the OSCE also have their own relations with India, and the same concern that we have with other countries having relations with India exists within the OSCE as well.
I take the lead only because OIC went to United Nations for Islamophobia, and there our ex-Prime Minister Pandey was accepted. So why not to try it? And then, of course, it's not only one forum. Then we have a United States, we have a European Union, and there are so many other friendly. Then, of course, we have two very important countries in our region, and that is Russia and China. Both are nuclear powered, and both have veto power in the United Nations. Then Iran, we have to make Iran understand what are the realities here and how we all collectively get development and economic prosperity in this region. So that we must try, but the try our effort should be traceable. I think this is what is the most, and particularly with these days when there's a bit unstable government because it's a newly has come, and then they are not having proper rate of the government because of their different political crises. We can see a PTA creating pressure, economic crisis over there, so they're bogging so many other things. So that is the right time for the enemy to go and fight and put Pakistan into a fifth generation war. And that is a
Yep.
part of fifth generation war. This is
Yep.
what they're exactly doing it. So now we have to put in all effort. We have to get all the intelligences together, and we
Yeah.
must
Right,
fall.
absolutely.
Yeah, Brigadier Harris,
But
Brigadier Harris, if we talk about Iran, of course, we know that SRA and BLA, all of these, outfits, banned outfits, they some sort of facilitation and obviously the routes which are being used for them that are related to Iran. Should we diplomatically be talking to the Iranians as well? We should get them on board as well. That though they have very good relations with India, economic relations I'm talking about, still I think being a member state of the OIC plus a Muslim neighbor of Pakistan, shouldn't they be considering it? You know, I mean, Pakistan is constantly facing terrorism and they should help out.
I think it's very legitimate. We must speak to Iranian through diplomatic channels and through military channels, both. And if we must tell them that we have already erected all fence around the Iranian border. Almost 90% fencing is complete. But the problem is the Indian raw ingress is over there. The facilitators are there. The executors are there. The BLA people are going, BLF people are going there and then creating problem in Balochistan. Well, you can talk, we can know what happened in Noshki area. So, but we must talk very firm and strong wickets. We have to make the Iranian understand what are the problems and what it is going to affect even Iran. That is what it is, and they are already facing because of Russia, Middle East, and then USA and Israel. Everybody is encircling Iran, and China is bringing a lot of investment, over $400 billion. So we have to make the Chinese realize that how much this region will get affected in case there is any instability in this area,
Right,
particularly
absolutely,
when.
Brigadier Harris, and I understand that perhaps the option of having a dialogue with Iran is there, but Farooq, do we actually even have that option when it comes to India? Because the kind of evidence that we have and the kind of involvement that we've had in the past and the way that our relationship and the current leadership in India exists, it seems perhaps that we won't be able to go for that option. And then if we don't have that, then we have other options such as international platforms, such as the ICJ. But can they really be approached for these things?
Right, Sana, I'm grateful that you gave me this opportunity. Earlier, we were talking about Iran-Pakistan border. It is called a Goldsmith line, and I think that we should be complimenting Pakistani authorities that they are trying to actually harden it as well, fence it properly, and I hope in coming days there will be some kind of resolution between the two countries. We are brotherly countries, and we want to support each other. Now, regarding India, I've seen many hypocrites. I have never seen anyone so big as India. India is a country that took the matter of defining, terrorism to the UN ages ago. But at this moment, it is a country that is also exporting terrorism to Pakistan. It might be exporting terrorism to other neighbors as well, while whatever is going on in Sri Lanka might also be somehow supported by India. But when you talk about the state of affairs in Pakistan, if you remember last year, I think it was February, the then NSA, Moeed Yusuf actually presented a dossier in which actually he gave you the money trails, the name of people, entry points, and the places where India is hosting ISIS K training places, training camps, and then also BLA, BLF, TTP, and trying to bring them together.
Right.
So India has not stopped it. India will never do it. India is a country that steals the nuclear power from the world, actually creates a nuclear bomb, and then calls it smiling Buddha. Actually, total perversion of legacy of Buddha as well. So at this moment, India will not stop it. What do we do? First thing is keep on documenting all the evidences.
Okay.
Keep on piling on that dossier, make it bigger, make it thicker. Then I tell you the second thing is keep on pushing it all over the world. This drip, drip, drip is having an effect. India is might be actually very powerful when it comes to money, when it comes to diplomacy, but right now the world is viewing India the way we are. They might not actually make it public because they have their interest, but they are perceiving Narendra Modi for whatever he is. So this is the second thing. Third is, of course, lobbying these institutions the way it is possible. I think UN is important. I think OIC is important. I think other important fora are also important. Then we can sensitize China, Iran, and other neighbors as well, because a country like India that exports terrorism can do it to anybody, right? And I hope that in coming days we will have enough evidence to build a proper case and to implicate India, and eventually there will be some hearing on it.
But don't we already have enough evidence to have a proper case?
Yeah, but
There's no doubt.
remember, these attacks are not stopping. They could have said that in the past so and so was in power, or so and so was heading RAW, or so and so was heading National Security Division. That's why it was happening. Now it has gone cold. But you have to actually show it to the world that it continues, and it will continue.
Yeah, Sana, if I could, mention something.
Yes.
I think we need to share all of these evidences with Great Britain as well. Why I say this? Because Britain is reviving itself within Commonwealth after Brexit. And of course, we know that Pakistan and India, both of them, they are very important members of Commonwealth, and both of them, they are equipped with the nukes as well. So I think it would be a sort of matter of concern. It should be a matter of concern for UK as well, and we must be sharing all of these evidences with Britain as well, and we should seek their help. We should seek their mediation when it comes to terrorism, because we should not be forgetting that for a long time, and still we are, an ally to Britain when it comes to countering the terrorism. We know that terrorism, which was originating from Afghanistan and reaching out to Britain, 7/7 bombings is one of the examples of it. We for a long time we were allies, and we should be ally once more when it is happening in Pakistan, and I think it should be reciprocated by UK, and if Pakistan seeks help from them, it should be given.
Absolutely. And this is extremely important as well. But when we look at the issue at hand, Brigadier Haris, with reference to what we were talking about in terms of making it perhaps more substantial in front of the international community and various platforms, then this means that we have a long way to go, perhaps, and then the cost also keeps on increasing as well. This has been something that has been going on for a while. It will continue in the future, seems like. And then when we look at the way that the terrorist activities are affecting our people, especially, and of course damaging the country, this means that we have to bear all of that cost before the problem becomes big enough for the world to actually do something about it.
And Brigadier Sir, very quickly also, please comment on how India actually has waged this campaign or war, information war, where it tries to attach the word terrorism only to Islam. And while this goes on, they have actually barked at the mention of saffron terrorism. So it is also important to remind the world that terrorism is not associated with any religion, but with the methods and the means.
I think that's very clear, and India has been very, very fast, and they have a very big network of cyber warfare, and then in network they have, and we already, the EU Disinfo Lab, we know how much they have penetrated in Europe, and then everybody buy their ideas because they have interest all over the world. And that's why they don't buy. Whatever Pakistan say, India is doing. Even Gulbachan Yadav didn't took it seriously, and then it was a very clear-cut serving naval commander coming to Pakistan and being caught and doing all terrorist activities, and then he accepted it, confessed it. That was not there. So you can see how much they have control over all the intelligence network all over the world, and they have different websites all over the world. They have, and I think we have. In England, they had exposed it very well. Now, about the other question, the point is, Sana, what I personally feel, we will keep on doing all these things. Whatever we are doing it, we have already done it. Again, we'll do it. We'll go to deaf ears. The problem is we have to have economic prosperity. We have to Uh, we have to self-reflect economic problem, and that is the CPEC. We are an Islamic country, we are a nuclear country, we have a very excellent strategic location, and if we have economic prosperity through CPEC, we will take our own independent decision in national interest. Number two, when you have developed Gwadar port, then the investment come from Russia, China, Central Asia, Iran, even from Middle East. When the country, the economic interests are developed in a particular country, then that country is developing and they have a lot of investment, they then force all India and all other such
Right, and
terrorist
I
countries
understand
to hold on.
that, Brigadier Harris, and that's very important as well to obviously have that sort of leverage. But again, the thing that we're relying on to get that leverage is being targeted. We have projects such as CPAC being targeted by India. So fundamentally, it's something which is interrelated. And so perhaps we cannot really progress economically without a more peaceful law and order situation as well. And so this means that we're just stuck in this cycle.
No, then we don't have to fight only terrorism. You see, the point is we have to have a two, three-pronged strategy. One, we have to keep fighting against the terrorists, and though are very less quantity, and countering India also whatever they are doing it. Then we have to provide socio-economic help to our Balochistan. That we are not doing it. And then the decisions of Balochistan should be taken in Balochistan, in Quetta. Our Islamic team should go and visit there. They have to go and sit and talk to all Sardars and Vaderas, all those people are there. Then what are the actual reasons? Why we haven't been able to give electricity and water to the Gwadar port? What is the reason? How many job opportunities they are having? The basic reason for falling prey to these terrorist activities is the poverty, no jobs. Their children can't get medical, they can't feed their families. So what will they do? Is they easily fall prey to these hostile intelligences. So what is the remedy? How much any family which doesn't have a land, and they should, what is the second, give them few animals like goats, and they'll be very happy. 30, 40 goats per family, they will be absorbed in their economic activity. Likewise, where they have land, there is no water, give them tube wells, then involve them in all these economic activities.
Right,
You can control
Brigadier
very
Saab, but
conveniently.
you'll have to appreciate Sana's frustration when she's actually pointing out that loss continues, right? If I were to actually use a little bit of poetic flourish, there's this couplet from Faiz, मिट जाएगी मखलूक तो इंसाफ करोगे मुनसिफ हो तो हश्र उठा क्यों नहीं देते if you're a judge, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the day when everyone will be wiped out? Why don't you bring the day of judgment today? So the world community will also have to wake up, sir, because India continues to infect the region and keep on spreading this poison.
The world community do not want Pakistan to economically prosper. Be very clear.
Sir, but we are
Thereafter are
human beings.
nuclear
Right.
assets.
Human beings
Be
die,
very,
sir.
yeah, of course. So that is the problem. You see, what are they doing in Balochistan? Why they want their Balochistan to remain turbulent? There should be problem because if Afghanistan is not peaceful and they don't want Afghanistan to be peaceful, why Americans have left so much weapons and ammunition unattended when they left? They wanted it to fall into the hands of all the terrorists and not actors. And then they use it against Balochistan, they use it against Pakistan, they might use it against China towards Uyghur sites by using Islamic Turkestan movement. So these are the issues. If Afghanistan is peaceful and that Pakistan is trying their best to tell the world that they have to be given economic support, they have to be brought in inclusive political government, and they should be stable, then these issues can be resolved. That is the basic problem Pakistan is facing. And this is what Pakistan is harping out of the world, and American and Europeans are not liking it. The problem is Afghanistan is an issue, and the most affected we are. The refugees are coming. Refugees are also a source of terrorism in the country. When the 30 million already, the 3 million is already there. They are the nursery for these issues. Then there are a lot of facilitators. Our intelligence are working day and night. Out of 10, they burst 7 to 8 nets, but still 1 or 2 get through. Second, third thing is, why can't we make our big cities as a safe cities? What is the reason? Why can't we have cameras? We spend so much money, waste so much money in corruption. If Karachi, Lahore, Quetta, so many zones of cities have overlapping cameras from where the terrorist came, then how he carried out that activity, and then from where he exit. Now these are things, if we caught, nothing will happen. And why these things are not having US, Europe, in England, America? Because they have a foolproof system. That is what is the problem we are having. And we rely everything later on, but intelligence is not doing good thing. So this is doable. This is not easy. It's very easy. The only thing we need to have a political will,
All right.
matter is all. Money is not a problem anyway.
All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier
very much,
Haris Nawaz, for joining us and being a part of the debate.
just a note of
Yes, sir.
optimism. The world community, we might keep on thinking that world community is not listening, but this Disinfo Lab project or expose, it didn't come as a result of Pakistan's initiative.
It
There
was.
are others who actually are awake and who are
Exactly.
actually following
That's
up.
true.
Exactly.
So let's hope that they keep on doing their job and one day they expose India for whatever it is.
Absolutely. That is, of course, the hope. And we really are counting on the saner voices around the world for any and every conflict. And this is, of course, something which is really important for all of us to keep doing, for us to keep raising our voices for what is right.
Absolutely.
This is going to be at the end of our first segment. We're going to now take a look at our second segment, which focuses on the situation within Pakistan and the kind of propaganda campaign that has been going on against the armed institutions for a while now, especially since we have seen the ouster of the previous Prime Minister. There has been a lot of social media statements that have been coming out from the political parties' representatives and then also the public at large. And now we've seen a tweet come in from the son of the president, Mr. Awab Alvi, who has spoken also against the military institutions and has blatantly called on them to be involved with regards to the political situation. He has said Khan Sahib is not going slow on boots. I think he's going to rub their nose into this mess even further. Faluda coup, PDM, judiciary, military. This is something that has been stated by Mr. Awab Alvi, and later on he's also tweeted and said that his tweet has been the source of debate for a while now, so he wanted to clarify a few things and said in retrospect his choice of words may have been poor, but he does not mean to disrespect the armed forces. He in fact has a lot of respect for the armed forces, but then again a poor choice of words does not really point towards a denial of his statements with reference to the involvement that they're pointing at. And then again, this has come after an entire day of debate on this tweet as well. Farrukh, we have seen, of course, similar such tweets in the past as well, and a lot of people had spoken about in the immediate aftermath of the change of government, and then this was also targeted by the armed institutions. It's one thing when we look at the public at large and people talking about their opinion or saying something which they might have been influenced by a certain political parties or their leadership. But for the son of the president of Pakistan, isn't the statement highly irresponsible and uncalled for?
I think this is a quite irresponsible statement, no matter where it comes from.
Sure.
Right? But when you were saying, actually, starting this story, I was hoping, and I was in my heart, I was saying, pick Faisal, pick Faisal. I
Go
tell
to
you
guy.
why. But I'm going to give you 3 disclaimers very quickly,
Okay.
and then I can build on the case. First, I have a history with Dr. Awab Alvi because of our Twitter presence. We have been sparring in the past, and that actually brings me to the reality of him commanding a lot of Twitter violent power. So I am usually reluctant to engage with somebody who is that much powerful and who can crush you on Twitter, right?
Okay.
The second thing is I've always been very reluctant regarding one thing, and that is actually shifting one person's blame to another. Individuals are individuals. He is an adult man. He is responsible for his own culpability. His father should have been separated from this. But the problem, and this is the third disclaimer, that's why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Recently, we saw how connected father and son are. Dr. Alvi is a dentist. Then Awab Alvi is also a dentist. And we know last year there was a controversy when the dental solutions that Dr. Awab Alvi now presents actually held a conference in Governor House at the behest of the President of Pakistan, right? So that seems to actually bring to the fore the interconnectivity of the two.
Right.
So then I think when you are relying on your father so much, then you should be responsible for the image of your father as well. And I think that this kind of statements, if you remember, for the past 7-8 years, I've been repeatedly saying the same thing, that Pakistan armed forces are doing a great job fighting terrorism. As we speak, Sana, they are being martyred.
Absolutely.
They are fighting for the independence of this country. We should not involve them in politics, and we should not use any language that demoralizes them or actually damages or tries to damage their image as well. So this actually really hurt me. And look at the modus operandi. You know, one day you tweet something derogatory, and for 24 hours you'd say nothing. People keep on actually spewing more venom, and then all of a sudden you actually say, okay, I didn't mean it, sorry. This is not on. You know, remember, this country, this country has faced and has been on the precipice of anarchy, and the only thing that was separating this country from anarchy was basically the armed forces.
Exactly.
They were there, and then the institutions, judiciary, others, they were also attacked by this party just because they thought that they are not being saved from a vote of no confidence.
Right.
This is not fair.
Absolutely.
I think he should apologize, and this is actually a disservice to his father and the party he represents.
Absolutely. And another thing that that was mentioned in the tweet that was posted later was that he has a right to express his own opinion. But then again, when we talk about the freedom of opinion, it always comes with a boundary, with its own limits. It's not that you can express your opinion as freely as you would like, or as freely as the term entails. This is something which is commonly understood when we talk about freedom of opinion. And so perhaps this usage of this argument to justify the tweet again points to the fact that perhaps the tweet in itself is not something that is being taken as an inappropriate step that was, or an inappropriate thing that was said and done by Mr. Awab, right, Faisal?
It was, Sana, and very first thing I wanted to highlight here is that, of course, he is someone who's a shareholder within PTI, within this political party. He holds a position, and very first thing I want to demand from PTI is that either Awab Alvi should resign from that seat because he is not in compliance with the leadership's thought, because leadership's thought is else, and he's having different thoughts, and either he should resign or he should be removed from that position. Number one. Number two, Sana, I want to highlight a fact which echoes around throughout Europe, everywhere, and that is, whenever it was asked that why couldn't Pakistan turned into Syria or Iraq or else, and it was always replied that, well, their armed forces are disciplined armed forces, and their armed forces are one of the best armed forces in the world, and that is why they are the ones, as Farrukh has highlighted, they were always in the middle. Otherwise, we would have been Syria or Iraq, ages ago. And we must thank armed leadership, and the leadership I'm talking about, they are the ones who've been constantly fighting for this nation for nearly 20 years. And this is what we are getting. Earlier, of course, the fake accounts were being used, and at that time we highlighted that, of course, and traces were pointing out towards the Indians as well, because it is all part of fifth generation warfare, and it was going on. See, this is what happens when you don't use your brain and you continuously watch whatever is going on social media, and you start repeating it, and you come up with these kind of statements, and highly irresponsible of him. He deleted it, but now he should resign from the position of that party, which, of course, the leadership of that party does not endorse it. And I demand that. And I must say that everyone should abstain from such statements against the armed forces, because they must understand that these are the armed forces who have given more than 5,000 lives, uniformed lives for them, for people of Pakistan.
Right.
Absolutely. You wanted to add something,
Farrukh? When you were asking about freedom of thought or opinion, I was just wondering, why is it that all the bad actors all over the world, the trolls, the shit posters, the people who keep on, spreading hate, hate mongers, why do they always go to freedom of speech argument? It is just a cover, because look, I don't know anything else. I don't know much about politics these days, but I know one thing for a fact. I've been reporting war on terror for 20 years, right? You can go to any unit, and I think I must have been there, and I must have covered it. And this comes from right from my broken, battered heart, that all these army officers who are actually fighting, or even the leaders, because they were also fighting. Remember, only 10 years ago, someone was brigadier or colonel, and they were fighting war on terror as well. I tell you, someday, perhaps our children's children, when they will write history, they will tell you what a great revolution this was. The way our army actually saved our skin from terrorists, and this country was written off. I remember those days when Western media would say that Pakistan is going to fall today or tomorrow. No matter 200 million people, they would only talk about nukes, and they would only talk about anarchy that is going to come. And these heroes actually saved us by losing their lives, losing their limbs, losing their loved ones, and their sacrifices continue.
Absolutely.
So I keep on begging everybody, and I've been doing it for 10 years, please spare them this politicization, and don't actually bring any one of them into this kind of controversy.
Sana, there are generals within the armed forces right now who are still serving with one leg.
Absolutely. No, of course, the sacrifices that our armed forces have given are countless. And of course, it's very unfortunate to be able to see such irresponsible tweets, and that too for such a sacred institution. But then again, the tweet keeps popping on screen as well, and I keep reverting back to it. It seems very deliberate, even though we've seen an explanation. There doesn't seem to be much room into buying the argument, because of course this is a stance that is coming out. There is a time that is required for you to be able to formulate a tweet and then post it online, and it seems that that is enough for you to consider your choice of words. But in any case, when we talk about irresponsible statements, it's not just Mr. Awab. We've also seen statements coming in from Shiri Mazari, who has spoken about the involvement of US conspiracy, which is again something that has been denied by the US and the DGISPR and the armed institutions. And now we're also involved in inculcating our relationship and the strength in our relationship again with the US, and reestablishing and rebuilding those ties. And then we have such irresponsible statements coming in as well. This, of course, has an impact. There is, of course, the influence that such tweets had. I'll come to you, Farrukh, absolutely. And when we look, of course, when we look at these tweets, which Ms. Shiri Mazari has posted, she has said that it is the demand of the US of drone base in Pakistan existed, which is again something that was denied. She talks about the involvement of the US in terms of regime change in Pakistan, again something that was denied. And this is something which is coming in from somebody belonging to PTI, when their leadership also in different rallies, the former Prime Minister has spoken about how the armed forces and Imran Khan are perhaps the only two forces saving the country. So it's quite conflicting. What exactly is that the PTI wants to communicate to the world, and what they're saying, and why do they continue to put this forward when it is only damaging the country? Yes.
Right, Sana. Usually, and if you have followed my career in past 20 years, I have two principles. I hardly ever actually criticize any woman leader anywhere, right, in any political party, and I am usually actually not going to do it. And then, of course, Dr. Shiri Mazari is also one of the teachers in the alma mater that I actually studied in as well.
Okay.
So usually I wouldn't criticize a teacher either. But I am going to make an exception. I tell you why. There is an example. Yesterday, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the foreign minister of Pakistan, was in the US actually defending Imran Khan for his visit to Russia. and then see the tweet she actually put out criticizing him and calling him imported foreign minister. When you have this kind of cognitive dysfunction or disconnect, then these kind of things are going to happen. These are people who have taught us meaning of patriotism. They kept on telling us whether it was rote learning or anything else, and now they are attacking their own institutions. Come on, I mean, I could actually expect this from coming from an outlier or somebody who was outlier in any political party, but somebody who is so mainstream that she was, head of IISS for quite some time, and then she was also the federal minister for human rights. Shouldn't be doing this. I mean, this is sad.
This is extremely sad.
Sana, I wanted to mention, if we, you know about these, they wanted bases and all. This is all perception and a political slogan which is being, continuously being used by a political party and should end now. Why? Because we remember, Chief of the Army Staff, while talking and addressing Islamabad Security Summit, which last month took place, I guess. In that, he categorically said that if we were asked, we should have we would have said the same thing. I mean, this is the country's policy right now, and this was, and nobody asked. But if somebody had asked, this would have been the reply. So there's no question mark left behind.
Right, and I believe the absolutely not term has really been blown out of proportion. It's really not something extraordinary. It wasn't really answered in terms of the drone bases because, of course, there hasn't been such a request. It was only a hypothetical question in an interview. But then again, the point is that even now, when we continue to progress in terms of our economy or in terms of our government and the way that there's numerous challenges the country is facing, we still keep backtracking to something that has been repeatedly denied. And then, of course, like Farrukh said, coming in from responsible position holders and a major political party in the country now, it seems quite unfortunate. But I want to also understand, Farrukh, the kind of impact that this is going to have on the way that people perceive it. Because again, we know that there is a following. There are people who will perhaps be loyal to their political party affiliation or their leadership, irrespective of whatever they do and say. And then there's also, of course, a chance that there are people who will reflect critically on it. But what are we looking at in terms of
the fallout?
The fallout, yes.
The fallout is not going to be much, I tell you, for two reasons. One, this country knows, and it is in love with its armed forces. It knows what a group of heroes it is, right? And then people like me and Faisal are not dead. And you, of course, as well. This team and other people, right? I didn't want to exclude you, but it just came in the rhetorical sense. Yes. But all of us, right? We are alive. So we will keep on doing our job and keep on, reminding people what a great, group of sacrificers these are. Exactly. But I tell you, while this happens, these people are going to actually expose themselves, and then they are going to actually make a mockery of themselves. Earlier I used Faz's couplet. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to quote Nancy Sinatra, her song, "These boots are made for walking," right? And there's this line that actually should be good enough for them. Okay. I'm saying this because it is important. They use the word boots. These boots are made for walking, and that's what they are going to do. One of these days, these boots are going to walk all over you.
Right. This is a mic drop moment, Farrukh, but unfortunately I have to continue.
And it's a hint to the breaking news.
Right, but we unfortunately just have time to quickly just go through our third segment as well, which is with reference to the nuclear deterrence and the peaceful program that Pakistan has developed. And we're very, very grateful that we are actually equipped with this technology, because this has been something that has really helped and supported Pakistan put its foot forward in the international community, and then, of course, played a very, very important role of a deterrent factor in terms of our relationship with India and, of course, regional peace and security. So this program, of course, points to the fact that Pakistan is a country which is a force to be reckoned with, and it's important for the international community to realize that and understand that. And we want to be able to express it also in terms of our domestic front, that the military efforts that have been made by the armed institutions and by the leadership in the past as well is something which is still benefiting the country and is extremely important for the safety and protection of all the citizens in Pakistan, and we cannot thank the sacrifices of our armed forces enough. That's all that we have from the debate. Have a nice weekend. See you Monday.